Corey wasn't sincere in his anger, but he chucked a small rock up at them anyway. It glanced off the soft bark of the branch the twins were working from, not but an arm's length away from either of the boys. They jolted with the thudding knock of the impact. He had caught them off guard as they toiled with the rope. "Oi! Good shot! That tongue of yours has really got some bite to it, Kael," shouted Pole, sounding legitimately impressed. "That's our Kael, marksman extraordinaire," Cass teased as he finished up a tension knot along the side of the berry. He lay on his stomach, his legs wrapped around the stem. "Don't make him mad, brother. He'll cough another pebble up at us in an instant," Pole warned playfully before the two erupted in laughter. They were always happy to pester and tease. The banter never ceased. Rarely did I have anything to add while they verbally prompted one another, leaving the twins' only option to poke fun at my silence. In truth, I had little talent for quick-witted insults or retorts. It was hopeless against the twins anyhow. My stoic defense worked well enough, even though the twins made light of this as well. The two made a point to playfully interpret my silence or react dramatically in the event that I did speak up. It was as if I spoke in revelation the way the two of them carried on sometimes. They were actually quite gifted at improvising, and their performances were well entertaining. It was good fun and rarely led to discourse, but if ever tensions mounted, peace wasn't far behind. Is it going to take all day for this one berry? Silas and Gregor have already lowered 2 berries in the time you lot have spent on this one, and none of theirs have gotten split or squished, Corey called up to the twins. Silas and Gregor had worked on the team closest to us. The two had indeed lowered 2 berries, having started about the same time. They were a few years older and more experienced, but Corey enjoyed goading the twins anyhow. Pole stood atop the thickest part of the branch, one hand clasped to the rope secured around the berry. He had wrapped the rope around a smaller branch close to the berry and secured an end around its base, allowing the slack in the rope to dangle from the side of the main branch opposite the berry. "Ah, you hear that, Cass? He says we aren't moving fast enough." A sly smirk crept across his face. "Well then, brother, we had best pick up the pace. No more wasting precious time," Cass replied as he bounced up onto the branch to stand next to Pole, who pulled down on the rope to ready himself. Cass pulled his axe and in 2 solid strikes cleaved the stem in 2. Next was the part Corey and I had been waiting for. As the berry fell, Pole waited for it to swing under the main branch. When it was at the peak of its swing, he did the unthinkable and released the rope entirely, sending it down at a near free fall. Just as it seemed the berry was doomed to smash into the ground, the rope snapped tight, and the momentum of the berry was suddenly redirected. Corey and I were speechless. The berry swung back and forth like a juicy pendulum. At its lowest point, the berry was at my chest, suspended and still very much in motion. Laughter exploded from the twins as Corey and I attempted to wrangle the wayward berry. "Well, seems like you two have this under control. We're off to set up the next one," Pole called down, delighted to see their mischief at work. "And don't keep us waiting. We'll need that rope back," Cass chimed in, as the two raced further along the swaying branch to the next cluster of berries. After many attempts, the berry slowed significantly. I grabbed hold of the ropes alongside and pushed my heels hard into the ground. No good. It just dragged me across the dirt in its wake. The berry slowed further, allowing Corey to grab hold. Together we managed to steady the thing, but getting it to the ground was to be a task all its own. Corey and I worked at the ropes. With the berry suspended, the tension knots that held it were secured by the full weight of the berry, making the task of releasing the ropes far more difficult than it need be. Had the twins followed tradition, the berry would have been slowly and safely lowered to the ground, and the ropes would have been a cinch. "Lift together," Corey exclaimed. Grabbing hold of the soft girth of the berry from either side, we heaved at the thing. It lifted a bit, then a bit more. The rope loosened as one by one we tugged at the knots, balancing the heavy fruit as best we could. "Got it!" Corey shouted as he released enough to free his side. Another berry came crashing down to swing just as wildly as the first one had. This was to be their game. Corey held strong, squatted under the weight as I tugged at the ropes a few more times before the thing came down with a thud. We stepped clear of the grounded berry and set off toward the next. "Kael, take point," Corey huffed as we closed in on the second swinging berry. It had a little more momentum than the first, making it dangerous, making it fun. I followed the berry as it passed through the lowest point. On the return swing, I ran alongside it and jumped to grab hold when it came close enough. In an instant, I pulled myself onto the berry, causing it to spin wildly. I held tight against the force of the swing, my hair moving with the rise and fall as I whooshed through the air, clinging to the berry. Dizzy and a bit disoriented, I fumbled with the ridiculous rope work of the twins. I all but wanted to reach for my knife, knowing well it would lead to discourse. Corey grabbed hold of the berry to try and steady its movement. Being of heavier build, he fared much better at gaining control of the rogue fruit. Once he stopped the spin, I managed to loosen the ropes. Keeping up with the twins was not going to be easy, but Corey and I were more than capable. As we continued to work on the second berry, there came not one, but 2 crashes. 2 more berries came down within seconds of one another. The twins had certainly been well prepared. They had carried 2 ropes each. All 4 were in use. Even with a double drop, Corey and I were soon to close the gap. At last, the second berry hit the ground. Corey and I raced toward the third. Pole was running the opposite direction along the branches above to retrieve the ropes Corey and I had freed. He took a moment to call down a few taunts as he hoisted up the first of the ropes, but neither of us paid him any mind. Corey and I were already well at work on the third berry. "Looks like we aren't keeping them busy enough, brother," Cass pointed, as Pole returned along the branch with 2 hastily coiled ropes. "Then we should pick up the pace. Wouldn't want them to get bored down there," Pole responded, dropping a coil of rope into his brother's arms. The two set to roping another berry. We released the third in half the time it took to release the first. As we moved for the fourth, the twins dropped another, then another, and another. They must have hidden more rope in the canopy, or perhaps some of the berries had already been tied off. The cheats. There was no telling what else the 2 scheming brothers had in store. I looked to Corey, shaking my head in dismay. We scoffed to one another. "Cheating devils," he grumbled. "Shall we then?" I smiled. "Might as well," Corey groaned. "If we don't, they'll never shut up about it." "Oh, they'll not shut it regardless, brother." We shared a laugh as we dashed into action once more. One by one, we worked through perhaps a dozen berries altogether, continuing to improve along our way. At last we reached our mark, where the momentum of the final berry had dwindled to a sway as it dangled in wait.